Welcome, everybody, to Forever Bristol City podcast. We are in joyous mood again. The final score of the Hawthorns yesterday. It finished West Brom 1, City 2. So we sneaked into the playoff zone courtesy of that win, our 10th win of the season. And it was a good game. I'm delighted today to be joined by Dave Tovey. Neil Sutts should have been joining us, but he's rushing his wife up to Temple Meads because there were no trains from Yatton. And we've got one other no show, but such is the time of year where people may be hungover from what they were doing the night before. Certainly not me, and by the look of it, not you, Dave, either. You were looking in fine fettle. And you were actually at the game yesterday.
I was. I enjoyed the feeling of going to football. I enjoyed pretty much everything behind it, and it was really nice to go to a live Bristol City game. And it's the first one I've been to in quite some time where I haven't felt like ill. So it was refreshing to be in a stadium, be able to take in the actual game.
Yeah, it was difficult getting in the stadium, wasn't it? Because the turnstiles weren't working. Is that right, or something?
Well, they were actually just letting us through one of the emergency or one of the exit doors, and they were just checking, say, "Let me see your ticket," and just letting you through. And it was, if it would have been really easy to get around if you'd taken some kind of risk. But I was pretty glad to get there about an hour before, just to be there and be ready. I just wanted to soak it in yesterday, and it felt like it was a nice close away day. We had the nice in the toilets. Thank you for traveling the 94 miles. We hope you enjoyed the pre-match. Obviously, they didn't wish us the best of luck for the game, but to be fair to West Brom, it's a small kind of like concourse, but they've got a decent amount of queues. They've got a decent amount of people serving. They've got a TV on. They've got 2 male toilets, which is important. So as an away day, it's a pretty decent experience, to be honest.
It's good. And I have to say, I didn't think there was a great deal of atmosphere at the game yesterday as I saw it. They were certainly a bit flat themselves, the home fans.
The home fans were extremely quiet yesterday, but you know what it's like. You've been there where you've watched certain stages of a team, and when it's not going well, it's very, very easy to go quiet, and you could barely hear them, to be honest. Even the goal, they barely raised the muster. It's kind of like they've just accepted what's happening. They don't come across as the types of fans that rebel easily. They kind of want to support their manager and their players, but you could sense a frustration and an element of resignation about them, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if we'd have got a third, I think the crowd would have turned. There was just one bit towards the end of the first half where you could just hear that there was just that undercurrent, and I picked that up on watching it on good old Sky Sports Plus. But there we go. So, well, I think we've covered how you felt at the final whistle. Well, no, we talked about how you felt going in
before the
game. Well, let's talk about the team. Only one change. Borges coming in for Armstrong, but probably of greater news was on the bench. Bloody Fally is injured.
It's interesting, isn't it? That we got a little peek of what most people would like our substitute bench to look like. I think Borges coming back in is fair enough. Over the last few games, he's kind of earned the right to be that, starter. Playing one up front, playing 2 up front, I think it's going to be a game by game thing. But how we started, though, I had no complaints. And kind of on the bench, that's what I want to see. I don't see the point in those two being on the bench at all. So. It's not great.
Fally and Cornick, because Cornick's taken his punishment early, so he can get some.
The great martyr. It's not great for Fally. I mean, do you think it will affect his loan possibilities in January?
I think 100% it'll affect his loan possibilities because he's a high wage earner, and if the manager thinks that if the manager says he's out for weeks, in Bristol City language, that means he's out for months. Well, I think he could well be out for the duration of the transfer window, yeah. And then is somebody going to sign a player who is injured? Now, City signed John Gallier when his ankle was in a plaster back in the 60s, Alan Dix's first signing. But it's a bit of a blow, to be honest. But as you said, Peckover, Stokes and Thomas on the bench. Maybe not the game to give any of them any minutes yesterday. Maybe if the margin had been greater, they may well have done. But it was back to a back three. Then Dave yesterday, wasn't it? Viner, Dickey, and Pring. Was it Was it like that, or was
Yeah,
Pring
yeah.
pulling?
No, exactly. It was Pring as left centre back, and he is extremely cultured in that position. And to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter which of the if he plays as a left wing back or plays there. He's just so instinctive with it and looks so natural as a footballer. He really adds something to the side, and it does give selection issues, which is great going forward. Is what you want. You want positive problems. But I think he's better as a left centre back simply because he's less likely to get injured there. And I would rather have a Cam Pring on the pitch, but I appreciate that does give some selection dilemmas as you go forward.
Yeah, no, that's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I mean, looking at the West Brom side, they had some decent players in there, Carl and Grant and stuff like that. But under Ryan Mason, they are a team that are reasonable at home. They haven't lost at home since the beginning of September. But it's their away form that's pretty appalling, isn't it? Yeah.
Do you remember that? I think the 2 seasons ago was it Johnston? Was it last season? It was last season. Was Johnston that scored 2 against us, where they just seemed to play through us so easily, and they had like they were getting down the sides. Yesterday wasn't like that. They were just far too horseshoey. They weren't really that much of a threat, and for 60 minutes it was genuinely comfortable. And you think about how comfortable you have to be at 35 minutes that you have the away fans olaying. That was kind of the way they set up. It doesn't inspire. And I was watching football feeling like, I've been here before. I've seen this under our old manager.
This is Manning ball, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. And as a proper Struberite, I was just thinking like, thank goodness we don't play football like that anymore. It's not fun to watch. It's not inspiring.
And I was watching, I'll be honest, I was watching a bit of Birmingham City versus Derby County yesterday, lunchtime. And that's Chris Davis there, isn't it? Yes, is that right, at Birmingham? But we know what they were like at our place, and they're playing like that at home. I mean, because they had loads of the ball in the second half at our place, but didn't get very far with it. So I think there could be some more managerial casualties in the new year. Talking about managers, can't believe Oxford would want Manning back, and allowing him a second chance to make an impression and step forward in his own career. But
I would be shocked. I would be shocked if they did it, because that if he has a successful spell, he would be gone. And if you do want to build anything going forward, which a club like Oxford would be, or even ourselves would be looking to do, you at least want the impression they're going to stick around. And with him, you to do it twice would be foolish.
They got a win without him yesterday, so good for them. My first notes for the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game, I thought we were going to get a little bit overrun, and before our first goal, Styles only a half chance, but Johnson his shot was scrambled behind for a corner, and we're not very good at corners at the moment, Dave, on the receiving end of them, are we?
Whether we like it or not, and we can talk about Max's involvement, and there will be, goals coming up that we will. We have a corner perception problem. Every single team that we play against is going to identify, put it on 5 yards, hit that 5 yards with pace, keep it down. The keeper's not going to get there, and they can't defend it. And we had this towards the end of last season. Teams were, if you remember the playoff game with Sheffield United, I think it was them exploiting it. Teams are going to be looking to go forward. And it's up to Max and others to close that door. Because if you keep even just giving away chances, teams will keep knocking on that door, believing that you're weak. And that was the concerning area. And I felt the whole game we were extremely comfortable yesterday. But every time there was a corner, it was, not another one. And even towards the end of the game, their crowd got up feeling like something was possible.
Well, no, they certainly did. We took an early lead, and it came based on it was after 4 minutes, based on it certainly was against the run of play, one would argue. But again, that man Borges there, take us through the goal as you saw it, although having been at that end of the Hawthorns before, it's a fair distance looking all the way down there, but it was a quick counter that we're becoming renowned for that, aren't we?
The first point for me is that it comes from Randall winning it. And this is something that happened time and again in the game between Knight and Randall. They are just an incredible middle two. I'm not sure they will be any better in the championship, because they were continually winning things the whole time. Or the ball just knocks at them. They just have a habit of being in the right place. From there, Twine does a fantastic job of wriggling, keeping possession. He knocks it out to Borges, who has developed this habit of the art of the pass cross. He's trying to pick somebody out, and he finds Mehmeti in a lot of space. and I was actually right behind it. And the moment he hits it, you can see it's going in that corner.
Yeah.
And Reece jumps. And from where I was at the time, I just assumed, well, Reece must be onside, because if he's jumping and that's given, there's just no way he can be offside because he gets in the keeper's way. And I understand the argument that the keeper had enough time to dive, but the fact is that Reece is keeping him honest. No matter what happens, if Reece isn't there, the keeper makes a dive for that. The only reason he doesn't is because he's anticipating a touch or something from Reece.
Yeah.
So we absolutely got a bit of luck there, but it's about time. What did you think of Anis's shot? Because we've been on here.
Well, I saw it. I had the benefit. You've seen the replays now.
Yeah.
I had the benefit of watching it live, and as somebody said on the text feed here, two people have said on the text feed, if you got VAR, that's not given. It's questionable. Is he interfering with play? I mean, he's clearly the last man, and he lifts his foot. It was such a weak powder puff shot, though. Is it Chris Wildsmith, the West Brom goalkeeper? He should have done better with that. Very much like they should have done better with Reece's goal, the Borough keeper, Reece's goal the previous, last Saturday. It went in, and as you say, we deserve a little bit of luck. And these things, people say these things even themselves out over the season. It did. We'll come on to another incident in a minute where things even themselves out.
Well, on the goal point, I think about the offside that wasn't versus Millwall. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. And the last couple of games, I've found myself saying, "Oh, we got a bit of luck today," and it's like it's about time because we weren't getting it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are critical of Anis for being too selfish, but that's an example where you need to be. Sometimes you need to take the shot because when you take the shot, things do happen in football. And you need to at least keep people honest, thinking that you just might, because even players knowing that you're capable of that means they have to engage you, which creates space for someone else. So I never mind it when Anis is taking shots because he is our most dangerous player.
He is our most dangerous, but the reason why he's not a Premiership player, in my view, is that those moments, and he gets lots of moments in games, the final touch or the final ball isn't there. Yes, he's our most dangerous player. 7 goals, 6 assists. That makes it now.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. You can't take that away from him. But over elaboration. He's not got a venomous shot in him either. But it went in, and we're 1-0 up.
Do you think he's earned that though? Like, I think that we judge him to a higher standard than anybody else, and because of those standards that we hold him to, which is achieved by performance, we criticize him in ways that we simply don't from other players.
I think if you watch a team week in, week out, as we do, you do major on the things that are wrong. I mean, if you're a Liverpool supporter or even a Man City supporter, you watch them every week, you'll criticize players that would walk into any team in any country because you watch them week in, week out. You know their foibles, and it's always easy to criticize. You mentioned there, Dave, that I think it was Twine took the ball from Randall, and then set up Borges for the cross. Twine, unspectacular, but a lot of people thought he ran himself into the ground yesterday. 6 goals, 4 assists from him. What were your thoughts on Twine yesterday?
I've had to change my opinion of how I judge Twine because being a number 10, I have an expectation of how I want and see tends to play. And that is slightly more dominating, almost running the show at times. Twine doesn't do that. He's a cog that makes it tick. And before you know it, he's picked up an assist or he's picked up a goal or he's been involved in something. He's quite often involved in the good things that happen. He does the work rate, but he's not that dominating number 10. The difference between last season and a game like yesterday he was putting in the hard yards. And when you're putting in the hard yards, you can afford to be that type of player. When you aren't, you kind of be anonymous. Yesterday, I thought he played okay. He was involved in both goals. Like I said, he was the one that passed it out. And for the second goal, he had the assist. But if he plays like he did yesterday, I'm more than happy with that. And again, if we can get some complementary players on the bench, all of a sudden we really have competitive options because we are genuinely talking. If we play 2 up top, is it Anis? Is it Twine? Is it 70 minutes for one, 20 of the other? Who's the one that starts? We're in such a competitive place if we can just get a few more complementary options in this window.
Yeah, no, that'd be interesting. Well, as you'd expect, the Baggies came back after conceding that goal. They had a breakaway. Max saved from Price. I think that led to the corner taken by Styles. And Max did from that corner what he's good at, which is the reflex save from Diakite. But arguably, should he be claiming the ball because he's rooted to his line and he just puts his hand up like that? Those of you that are watching this, he puts his hand up and it is a strong arm. The ball goes away, but should he have dominated and claimed that?
First of all, it is a worldie of a save. The way that he just gets his arm there, like it's a phenomenal save because the header is so close. And in a way, with that save, Max has provided a solution to the problem that he created, because he should just be coming for that 5 yards out, rooted to your box, rooted to your line, basically. And if you remember the one that Vitek conceded against Wrexham that goes over his head, the reason it does so is because of his initial positioning. Yeah. Whereas Max is almost on his line. He's not dominating. And that's the issue there, is that it's that bit of confusion. Defenders know that he's not going to come. He might fight for it, but he's probably not going to get there. Attackers know that, and they feel a bit more emboldened to go for balls. And ultimately, that is a free header. It's not all on Max, but he's not helping in the situation, because you do have to ask yourself as defenders, how has he got a free header there in the first place? It's a little bit of everything, but he doesn't help the situation. What do you think?
That's true. Well, the game was refereed yesterday by Will Finney, who at 31 is one of the youngest referees on the list. I think he's refereed us 4 times now. And it would be right for the fans to be chanting, "Can we have you reffing every week?" Because I think we've won all 4 games that he's been in charge of. But he had a decision to make, and this is, again, a little bit of luck on the quarter-hour mark. Balls in the middle of the park. I think it was a robust challenge by Pring on one of their players. But again, with VAR, it looks like a forearm smash from Mehmeti into the face of Styles. And we had a good more than a minute stoppage time there. Was he lucky to stay on? You've seen it in real time, but you've seen the replays as well.
I saw it at the time, and I have seen the replay. I felt like the referee at the time made a cowardly decision, because if he thinks he's done that on purpose, it's a red card. If he thinks that he hasn't, and it's just sometimes things do happen in football, then it's a free kick and you move on. Personally, having been there and then seen it as well on a replay, I don't think it is a red card, because I don't think he goes in with the intention to do that. Is it clumsy? Maybe a little bit, but I think his intention is to block. I don't think it's a yellow card offence. I think it's either something you've done, and if the referee's like, "I've seen that, red card," or just free kick and continue, and it's one of those things in football. But the referee has absolutely no idea, so he takes the cowardly yellow card option. And to be honest with you, the referee didn't have the best game yesterday, because he was giving yellow cards for some things, and other times when it was an obvious yellow card, he wasn't. And it was starting off just against us, and then it was just turning around like he was trying to even it up. Yeah, I don't think it was particularly good yesterday. What did you think of the incident? Did you think it was a red card?
Again, sometimes these things get given, and that's what I'm saying. We it looked innocuous when I was watching it in real time, but then it's almost like he gives a bit of afters as the ball's gone by. His elbow, he does, as I saw it, his elbow went up a little bit. There was a bit of Styles running into it as well, which made it look worse. I think Styles might have been going down, but Anis did a little movement that, if you can get away with it, you will. But look, I mean,
maybe I'm being a bit old-fashioned here, but I think, like, sometimes you can have collisions in football that don't automatically mean a red card or some travesty. And for me, it was just a footballing incident that I really didn't think was a red card. I didn't think it was a yellow card, to be honest.
Interestingly, Jay Clark on the text feed here, he said there's no forward motion from Mehmeti. The guy's running towards him with Mehmeti. So if somebody's running towards you with Mehmeti, you might, again, those of you that are watching, it's easy to see this, you might go like that to retain your balance, and automatically your elbows go up. But,
this kind of is in keeping with what I'm saying. I get the argument of why some people think it's a red, but I genuinely don't, for that reason. It's just, He's clearly trying to like just get the ball or block or just be a bit of a nuisance. He's not trying to elbow someone in the face.
Jay Clark said again, didn't help the West Brom player was 5 foot tall. Danny Harris has said, not a red in his opinion, but if ref gave it, you could see why. It looked like the player had a broken nose, a lot of blood all over the place. Apparently.
That's that, but that's the point. If the referee gives a red and it's like, I think he's done that on purpose, it's harder to argue with. It's the yellow card that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
because you're accusing him of doing something that deserves a red. The decision itself doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, Tom said he's totally. That's Tom of Robin's Nest who will be on. Those of you that wonder where Tom is today, Tom will be on the podcast with Dave, Tubby, Dave Fevs, and Anne Banks. The review of the Millwall game, which will be Tuesday morning. That's Tuesday, December the 30th. So, Tom, good to have you on there. And I know you weren't available today. Time to do one of these little adverts I keep forgetting to do. It is. Listen up, Ashton Gate faithful. Don't miss City take on Portsmouth at Ashton Gate on New Year's Day. It's live on Sky Sports with Now. City are doing really well at the moment, and the chances of getting the win this upcoming match week against Pompey, well, it's we could well be cementing our position in the top 6. And you can catch all the action live on Sky Sports with a Now membership. There we go. Good old Sky.
Job done.
Right. Anyway, 21 minutes on the clock. Second goal of the game for us. Another good one. Team goal. Take us through it as you saw it, Dave.
Well, it stems from, again, we've looked to progress down the left-hand side. They've got the ball, but we haven't just backed off. Pring and Randall between them have gone hunting. They've won the ball back. I think it's Randall, first of all, that's got the first kind of interception. It's come to Pring, turns to Borges. And again, it's not a cross. It's a cross to someone. It's that flat pass cross that seems to be very, very effective from him. And in that moment, you have a real composure from Twine. It's almost 1970s Brazilian-esque, the way the ball's laid into McCrorie. And it looks a really, really tight angle. It's not, I wouldn't call it a worldie, but it's a hell of a strike to score from there. Maybe the keeper will be slightly disappointed, but sometimes if you get it high enough at your near post, that's where you are weak. And I felt like from the way that we started the game, it was a deserved 2-goal lead. I didn't feel like it was against the run of play. I didn't feel like it was something out of the blue. We might not have created an easy chance, but we were more than comfortable and we were offering a threat away from home at a place that we don't necessarily have a great record. So it was like, wow, this is a great start to the game, and I thought it was deserved. What was your point of view on the goal?
I thought it was a well-worked goal. Again, Borges involved. I mean, an inspired loan signing he's proving to be, because he set up Mehmeti there for the first one. Then he passes it to Twine. Twine holds it well. I'm trying to think of the name of the guy who scored the 4th goal for Brazil in the 1970 World Cup final. Is it Carlos Alberto? But it was very much like where Twine just lays it into the path of McCrorie, and he strikes it, cracking strike into the back of the net. And it was very much like that goal that Brazil scored. Comparing Bristol City with Brazil, what are we coming to? But it was a bit like that, where the player just runs onto it. And look, I hold my hand up. I've been critical of Ross McCrorie in some of his performances this season, but he seems on top of his game. He had a good game against Borough at the weekend, I thought, and he did okay, and he's up. I'm sure there's a level of fitness that they get to, that every player is different, and he's on top of his game. His first goal for us since the opening day of the season against Sheffield United, and if my memory serves me correctly, it was similar, a similar type thing where he just strides and whacks it. Yeah,
he was much more on it yesterday, and it stemmed from the last game when you sense that he's someone that's building back to form, because not long after that, West Brom had an attack and he cleared it, not quite off the line, but it was a stunning defensive header that really he had no right to win. And you can just sense with McCrorie, he's building himself back into a sense of form that he had lost for a while.
Yeah. Do you think he's got a chance of getting in the Scotland World Cup squad? I mean, he has been in it. Do you think he'll be going over to the States?
Why not? I don't see any reason why not. And to be honest with you, if he keeps, chipping in with goals here and there, he only adds to his case because you make yourself visible more nationally. He'll certainly be on the radar, put it that way. And I would imagine that he definitely sees himself in the frame to be going.
Yeah, if not in the final, however many it takes, he'll probably be in that preliminary squad listing. Interesting, he's another one out of contract next summer, isn't he? Is that right? Summer 26, or have the club got an option? Maybe the club have got an option.
I believe it's the club option, but that's another example of kicking the can down the road, and it's something that you want to deal with sooner rather than later, because we don't want to necessarily have that situation again for the summer after, because we know that Knight and Bird are out then, and you have so many out, you start to lose the power of negotiation. Realistically speaking, for longer term contracts, he is one of them that it needs to be solved before summer. If it's not, we need to look at really player rotation, because we can't be in the situation that we're going to be in this summer, the summer afterwards as well. And I don't care if it takes agents being paid fees, etc., and the club have to go through a bit. We need to really start forward thinking.
I mean, look, this thing about agents, this came up before when people were saying, can't we give players 8-year contracts? This came up at Senior Reds. Can't we give player extended contracts? Or the agents won't want that. The agents, they're going to get paid whatever happens. If I have a 4-year contract at 500 grand a year, that's 2 million over the 4 years. And if I have an 8-year contract, that's 4 million. The agent is going to get a percentage of whatever the contract fee, whatever the contract value is that he's negotiated. So
we have a lot of, there are a lot of players there, and that's
the mess the club got into 40 odd years ago.
Well, this is the point. You wouldn't go the 8-year way for that obvious reason. But if you take McCrorie, he's one of those players that is playing to a certain level. He would walk into most championship sides. How would you feel about the fact that if we offer him an extension and he doesn't take it, selling him in summer and using that money to then rebuild the side? Would you be for that, or would you go down the route of an extension?
If we were the certain players, and I talk about first team players, if somebody came in with an offer for McCrorie, I think, have we got cover there? Well, I was going to say we got Zach Viner out of contract, Mark Sykes out of contract, George Tanner can't play there. Are there any youngsters coming through? It is a difficult one, And
you can't do it now. Right now, January would make 0 sense. But towards the summer, as you have an idea of your squad, it's a question you have to answer: extension or chow. There is no room to.
Well, the thing is, come the summer, if all things being well, we might be in a situation where, we're shopping in a totally different supermarket for our players if we keep it going. But as somebody said on here, Ross Maggs has said, if we beat Millwall away, then January window becomes very important.
It's already huge. It's regardless of the Millwall result. You look at 23 games in, points we've got. January is already massive. No matter what happens with Millwall, we're in the conversation. At the beginning of the season, we were talking about, we've only played clubs near the bottom. Is our position reflective of where we should be? Now we've played all 24, and we are 6th place, just about in the playoffs, with a feeling of unknown about what's going to happen next. That's reflective of where we are. We deserve to be in the playoffs, but it could easily go wrong quickly. That's a fair reflection, I think.
Yeah.
Now, back to the game, I'll tell you something that did disappoint me in the first half.
Go on.
At half an hour, we're 2-0 up. The fans are olaying. It's very, very easy. West Brom have gone. They're mentally,
that's what I wrote. I actually wrote poor atmosphere. I mean, we were treating it like a practice game. They were gone. That's a good terminology, Dave.
I felt like and it progressed into the second half. We dumbed down slightly, because I was having memories of Leicester. I was speaking to my friend, like, we need to kill this game now, get the third. Yeah. Because you can expect a response from them at some point, and they're mentally gone right now. Now is the moment to get the third.
That's the killer one, where you have the striker that makes the difference, or that pinpoint pass through the middle that somebody.
Yeah, and I it wasn't that we were playing poorly. I just felt like we dumbed down to their level, because they were mentally gone, and we just took our foot off the gas.
Maybe we dumbed down, Dave, because we know we got another game in 48 hours' time. Just to wrap up the first half, you alluded to it. Johnson, Borges, good going forward, bit exposed at the back. He got done by Johnson again. And then, as you say, there was that cross that came in that McCrorie headed it over. But that's going to be a certain goal if McCrorie doesn't do that, because, again, Max is nowhere, is he, when that ball comes into the box?
I hold that one. I don't think Max can do too much about that one because of the pace on it and where it was. But it is a world-class defensive header from McCrorie. He is known for scoring those types. He gets in front of the man. What McCrorie does, not only does he get there first, but he manages to put it wide and get it out for a corner, get it away. It is a great piece of defending.
Yeah, no. Well, the second half, it starts off. I've written weak start by us, but then, and that was exemplified 49 minutes on the clock when Price put Grant in a good shooting position. Max did do a good save there, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a good double save. He managed to he parried it down and was quick off his feet to get the rebound. I felt we started okay the first 15 minutes, to be honest with you. Again, we were in cruise control. West Brom were offering snippets, and I just felt like I get your argument about the fact that we backed off knowing we've got another game coming, but I just felt like we give them a sniff here. And in that first 15 minutes, we were letting them have the ball. They were horseshoeing. We were giving them nothing because we weren't deep. We were nicely set. We were like, you can have the ball in a non-dangerous position. There's no problem with doing that. You've earned the right to do that. The problem comes what comes later.
Well, 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline anyway, isn't it? And you've got to go for that third. I mean, again, I put after that poor start, and then there was that poor start of the second period, and that saved by Max. But then we had a good breakaway, and Mehmeti did what I said he does. He was clear in the box. That would have been right in front of you. And it was a weak pass. He just didn't move the ball quickly enough, did he, in that situation? He did all the hard stuff.
Ironically, I wanted him to shoot. He's one of those guys I wanted him to shoot, and he looks for the pass. And the pass probably wasn't on. And I'm not going to say like it was a poor decision, because you don't get that much time in football to really calculate things through. But I just wanted him to shoot, and it was frustrating that he didn't. And that, I believe, led very quickly onto a cross in the box that somehow Borges doesn't score. It kind of hits the back of his head, and it's the second time
where they clear the ball off the line.
It kind of it's the second game in a couple that Borges has had a chance in that area, and you can tell he's like not a natural goal scorer. But it was one of those. It was like, oh, you should be scoring from there, and that again was a moment to kill it. And we were really on top on that period. And they couldn't get out. And it was.
And if it's 3-0, you might even go on to get 4 and boost the goal difference. Interesting there, what you said about Borges being in the position. I got a feeling it was in one of the recent games, may even have been Borough, where he was in that position inside the 6-yard box.
That's the chance I mean. That's the chance I mean.
And he just doesn't have that, there's a chance to poke the ball in.
But on Borges right now, he's really come into his own like, as a player going forward. He at first, it was like, okay, he's not bad. He offers a little bit. But game by game, he's growing into himself, offering more, understanding who he is within Struber's system. Like these crosses that are passes are highly effective. The way he finds himself in dangerous spots, and he's always available on that side. He's been a hell of a loan signing. Would you be happy to keep him permanently in the summer?
No.
Why?
Aren't we covered on that side anyway?
By who?
You can play there.
I wouldn't class you as one of the options. I get the Pring option, but if you take away Pring and
McCrorie can play there.
Personally, I would be happy to sign him, because the way I see it, you would have McCrorie and someone else on the right, Pring and him on the left, knowing that Pring can fill in for Atkinson if and when Atkinson has some games out. That's likely to happen. And when Pring does fill in, I would rather see Pring filling in than Atkinson. That brings in Borges. Plus, you have the rotation option. Personally, I would say yes, because he's very complementary to what we have.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just looking at something. I was looking at the substitutions, actually, which there was a double substitution on the hour. And sorry, I'm just looking to find out when the other ones happened as well. double substitution on the hour. Armstrong coming on from a Mehdi, 63 minutes to be precise. Won't sit you watch by Struber, would you? Atkinson coming on for Borges. What were your thoughts on those two substitutions and the timing, a degree of predictability about it, really, isn't there?
I felt like at that moment, some fresh legs were needed. The substitutions were more than acceptable. Bringing Armstrong on 2 up front, it's worked for us in the last few games. I got it. Just to change the conversation slightly, what was really important to me was doing the next substitution of bringing you on, because it was clear that the tactics hadn't worked. When you put 2 up front, Armstrong seemed confused into what
he
was
had one of
to
those
do.
games where you think that was regression on his part compared to what he's shown.
Well, I think it was regression, but it was regression because he wasn't sure what he was supposed to be doing. He was half playing as a centre forward, almost as a 10, and every time maybe there was a ball in the channel, he had to beat his man and the covering man. He wasn't stretching the play, he wasn't holding the ball up, and it was almost like he wasn't exactly sure whether to stick or twist. And it wasn't working with the 2 up front. We'd relinquished that element of control that we had, and I was thinking a sub needs to be made here. And for Struber to react to that and bring on you next and say, okay, Reece needs to come off here because this isn't working. This is one of the reasons that I love Struber. He's constantly reacting and he speaks the fans' language. There are sometimes you think, what's he doing? But other times it's like you can see a problem and he's seen it.
I have to say, in that situation there, when he brought on Hirakawa, he could have brought on Stokes.
This
because,
is true.
You know, and as Roger Tully has said on here, did you touch the ball? He did once late on in the game and he totally ran out of steam. I mean, everybody else who has
all the
other club players from the Orient, they all seem like Ohashi and people like that. They all seem busy little bees with an end product. But I'm sorry, he's not really done it, has he? Really?
No, and this is the next point of view. I don't think he played well yesterday, and he had a couple of opportunities to do something. And when you come off the bench, there was one down the left-hand side with a cross that just went sailing for a goal kick. As a sub, you have to take your moments. And yesterday, he had enough time to have an impact, and he just didn't yesterday. I think you make a strong argument that maybe for Stokes, I think Stokes' time is coming. There's no doubt about that. The time is coming. I didn't have any complaints in yesterday's situation.
I hope you're right, Dave, but we're going to talk, when we've wrapped up the game, we're going to talk about transfers incoming, and there's a very interesting one that is pretty much a done deal now, which we'll talk about in a moment. But so the substitution, that was, and then he brought on, that was the other one I was looking for, when Tanner came on from McCrorie on 76, yeah? So was that was the same time as you, wasn't it, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there was a sense of the game has changed here. We're under a little bit of pressure. McCrorie's race is probably run, and it's time to make sure that we see this game out. And I get the thinking, there's another game coming. We're comfortable, see it out. I didn't like it because I could just sense if they get one, this is going to be horrible. And the issue was that we were getting deeper and deeper and deeper. There's nothing wrong with setting your stall out and saying, we're 2-0 up, break us down. We did that at the beginning, but gradually we're getting to a point where it's getting easier.
Them come right back into it, and they weren't a better side than them would have exploited that. Interesting, you said a moment ago, Dave, about giving Atkinson some minutes and not stretching, but then you push Pring into the wing back position, which is a more energetic position than where he was playing left centre back. And a few people have said on OTIB on the forum, Pring's made a great return to the side. He's everything that you could want in a player on that side of the pitch, isn't it? Yeah. And I agree giving Atkinson minutes, but you could have taken Pring off, and left Borges there and even brought Roberts on to give both of them some minutes.
But the reason that you don't do that is because the wing backs are the most demanding positions, and it makes more sense to sub them, especially if you've got someone that can play there so well. And Pring is a more than capable left wing back. Personally, I prefer him as a left centre back, but as a left wing back, he's just as competent. And if you're telling me that to get what would between those three of Borges, Pring, and Atkinson, who are the best two? That's a really difficult conversation to have right now. And I have no problem with whichever two that Struber comes up with.
Yeah, somebody's Dom said, I think you're being harsh on you. He's asked to do the impossible at times. When he plays in the 10, he looks comfortable. Well, maybe he'll get the chance to do that. Maybe he'll get the chance to do that against Watford in the FA Cup, which will give us a break from the league action. Chris Honnor's got a view about Struber ball and the way we play. It's chaos. And we do seem, when in doubt, just whack it up the field. And we had a few misplaced clearances. And somebody said somebody texted me actually and said Atkinson wasn't very good. I thought he was excellent when he came on against Borough. What was Atkinson? And who was it who skied a attempted clearance? What's that, Atkinson?
I don't know who it was that did it, but yeah, it wasn't the most impressive moment. First of all, it's not chaos. There are chaotic moments. Like when I play poker, people think I'm unhinged and crazy, but there is a thought process going on, and we don't play with just headless chicken football. There is art to the madness.
Yeah.
There is a setup. The way that we defend is in a specific way. Like to see the left centre back and the right centre back come out, knowing that they're covered by the wing backs. It's not lazy football. It's not people doing what they want. It's just saying when we get the ball, transition is on and go for it because we're going to hurt you. But it's not like there aren't plans set in motion, you know. And there was a very interesting piece in the from the Evening Post where they spoke to Struber saying, "Why were you changing the defensive setups against Borough?" And he basically said, "Because they have certain patterns of play, and I just wanted to disrupt them." That's the kind of manager that we've got. That's seeing what's happening. It's not like he's just inventing it on the fly. Oh, what happens when I do this? What happens when I do this? Yeah. There is a plan in motion disguised as chaos.
Change formation and it I mean, there's a difference between confusion and chaos. I mean, and it is a fine balance because people were saying Sinclair Armstrong didn't know what he was supposed to do yesterday.
But the point is that when you have someone like Sinclair Armstrong that is slightly confused, that might be in the messaging, that might be on him. I felt like Sinclair Armstrong yesterday was too deep. And I'm not a fan of when he's trying to set up in a defensive way because he almost doesn't know where he should stand instinctively. His main threat is when you get the ball. And even yesterday, there were times when it was go now. And he's like taking too long to get into the sprint. And that half a second is the reason that he doesn't get there first.
Yeah. No, he looked like treacle one occasion, a la Fally, where he's the afterburners just weren't firing. Okay, the Baggage goal came 5 minutes to go. Surprise, surprise, came from a corner. Who do we blame here? Tanner or Max O'Leary allowing Diakite to score the goal that set up a grandstand finale?
A little bit of both. First of all, the corner comes from a misclearance, and this is one of the issues that you just spoke about. Is that in the last few games we've been dilly-dallying and not making good connections with clearances, and in the last game and yesterday it was like when we did have to clear it, we were making sure it was gone. Unfortunately, they were some slices that were worse than the cricket at times. You know, they just weren't good clearances. Once the corner comes, their crowd gets up. Everybody knows what's coming. We even know where you're going to put it. I would say it's more on Tanner than on Max.
Yeah.
But going forward, that's the perception problem. Teams now know you put it in that area, Max isn't going to get there. Strikers are going to be thinking, oh, I can dine out on this. Teams will be expecting to score. They'll be looking for corners. And that's what concerns me more than who was to blame for that. But overall, I would say Tanner. What do you think?
Danny Harris on the text feeds pinned it on Tanner because he didn't assert himself physically, did he?
No, exactly. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. But then, it's very easy to criticise George Tanner. I've been criticised him in the past, but he's a very accomplished defender. He should have done better. But then Max doesn't even attempt to come for the cross. So,
Maybe it's deeper than that, though, because when you look at it, Tanner's there. There's no one in front of it. It's not a particularly high cross. We don't have anyone there. Maybe it's a setup problem. Maybe that's the issue behind it. I don't think necessarily it's just one person it's to blame. It's too easy. And someone on this podcast has spoken about 3 mistakes in the past. For me, setup, Tanner. Could Max be more commanding? Maybe. But I don't think that's necessarily his fault for that second goal.
And look who's joined us. It's 9:44 on the live.
It was a 9:45 start today, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. No, at least you've shown up. I don't know what's happened to Mr. Tubby. But we're not going to go through the game with you. Oh, well, we'll have a quick. You didn't go, did you?
No, I watched it yesterday.
You watched it?
Yeah. I've been to West Brom so many times and never seen us win there. So I really didn't.
Look at this. Not the pretenders, the proclaimers. We're here.
The pretenders now.
There's nothing like the trains after a bank holiday in this country where everything's frozen, everything's delayed, cancelled. So I just had to take my wife rather than to Yatton to Bristol Temple Meads and back. Yeah, probably broke a few speed limits on the way back, I have to say. But,
I mean, we were just talking about the goal because we're coming up to the end of it. But their goal.
Yeah.
Who's that on? Tanner or Max?
Well, for me, it's quintessentially.
That's one of your favourite words. Quintessentially.
Yeah, beautiful word.
Welcome back.
It's a type of goal we wouldn't concede with Vitek. It's a difference in goalkeepers. So if Vitek comes and he clears out in a way in which Max doesn't. Max comes 2 yards, then he retreats. So in that situation, you want a goalkeeper who's either going to come or he doesn't come. And then what happens is, like he did in the previous game, and apologies if you've come to this already, or haven't come to this already, but in the home game against Middlesbrough, second half, there was a ball up in the air, he doesn't come. So in Max's mind, I've dropped one there, I need to come for the next one. And then he comes for one that he shouldn't come, and Bergsoy should have scored and got a goal back for him on 95 minutes. Yesterday, he didn't come for the goal. So then he thinks, I need to come over about 17 players to actually punch the ball out. And it's a really bad punch. And Grant hits the bar with it. So in his psyche, there is something about Mads. I have no issue generally with his shot stopping. Shot stopping, fine. Command of the area, poor. Coming for crosses. If I was defending in front of him, if I was a centre-back in front of him, I would not have an idea whether he's coming or not coming. And I think that
creates uncertainty in its own right.
It does.
Dave,
wait, one second, because I agree with you there about not coming for the ball. But isn't the issue that if you know that that's likely to happen, rather than repeating madness and keep asking him to do something that is not within his skill set, wouldn't you put someone like in a zone away on that front post in front of that area just to make sure that it's covered off, rather than saying, right, be like Vitek, which you know that he's not going to be?
I mean, that West Brom goal, Dave, reminded me of the end of last season.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
we insisted on playing Max, even though I was at QPR when he injured his ankle, and you've got Bajic, and he so didn't want to even try. Even at the Luton away game, where it was, if we lost, we lost. It didn't really affect us. He still wouldn't. So he's playing an injured goalkeeper, and everybody was hitting it in around fast and hard around that penalty spot. Analysts will have done their job on Max. They know that whether it's a fit Max or an unfit Max, that is a weakness of his. That is a weakness. He doesn't control the penalty box on set pieces. He just doesn't. So do you defensively set up to
cover the inadequacies of
the keeper? I don't think you do. I think it's down on individuals there to start thinking, this is what I need to do. But Vitek would come and clear that out.
Goalkeeping terms, we've been served fillet steak with Vitek. With Max, we've got a bit of pork tenderloin. And with Lumley, Joanna, we've got an Aldi burger. Yeah, because look, whatever happens, Joe Lumley won't get in the squad, no matter how bad.
Well, I went to Fulham away this season. Yeah. For the Lumley extravaganza.
Yeah.
And
he makes Max look like Gordon Banks.
Max goes up a level from Lumley, I have to say,
Yeah, Steve has said on here, Max is a liner. The only reason he made that save in the first half at point blank was because he was on the line. Rooted to his line. And then Nighty has said he makes the rest of the defence look nervous, which gets back to what you were saying. And then Jay Clark saying Millwall will be a big test of Max with their big centre backs. Dave, the goal, the shot that hit the bar, Neil just described it. You're right down the far end for that. I mean, it seemed to take an age as the ball flew in goalward, and then it hit the upright. It literally was the last kick of the game. And would that have been rough justice on City or not? Because they did sit back and invite the pressure on in the closing stages.
First of all, it was like entering a time warp. Everything just went silent as though you're just watching this ball thinking, is it going to go in? Is it going to hit the box? It took forever, just like holding your breath, like, what's going to happen? And just a relief. In terms of would it have been harsh? As the overall game, absolutely. I think it would have been harsh. We deserved to win yesterday. But we didn't need to be in that position to ask for luck. I really felt like that. Like at Derby, we allowed football to do football things and it wasn't kind. Yesterday, we put ourselves in the position. West Brom didn't do that. And I was saying yesterday, like, we were more generous to West Brom than I was to my niece on Mario Kart on Christmas Day. You know, I destroyed her. I gave her nothing. We were too generous yesterday, and we let them back into the game from going too deep. And because of that, we asked for football to be pleasant to us. And thankfully it was, because as a 90 minutes, we did deserve to win.
Yeah, no, we did, definitely. And 2 wins on the bounce. Right, we're going to look forward to Millwall, and we're going to talk about transfer.
Look forward to Millwall.
Well, no, nobody can look forward to that. I just want to read something. The other day, somebody sent me this. It was a thread that was on OTIB, and somebody DM'd me on OTIB and said, "Hi, Mr. P," to use Dave's phrase. I'm sure you may have noticed this thread, but I copy it in this message. It's a really good read by a chap, Dave Garland, who knew he was dying. Dave Garland's story about Bristol City FC is really amazing. It's well worth a look. He was from this area, Clevedon, Coventry, at one stage, and his knowledge of City and some of his supporter stories are awesome. He died in a hospice, but a few people are trying to promote his story, also raising a few quid for the hospice where he died. There's a book. It's called A Love Divine by Dave Garland. Yeah. There's a thread. It was posted on OTIB on the 20th, but it's a book that he wrote in the latter stages of his life. So if you've got a chance to, there's a link on that posting there in OTIB. I'll put one up on X as well. But it's a book that I'll certainly be reading. So thanks for bringing that to my attention, DT the Optimist. Thank you very much. Anyway, the football carries on relentlessly because there's another set of fixtures on Monday. All evening kickoffs. One of them's kicking off at 6:30, bizarrely. And they're all evening kickoffs, and there's some real blood and thunder games out there because you've got first versus third, Coventry versus Ipswich. I think Coventry are odds on for the top 2 without question. Somebody said Ipswich are coming on strong as well. So are we one of a group of 10 clubs, as somebody put, chasing for playoff positions? The other fixture, Borough 2nd versus Hull 4th. That's another biggie. Millwall 7th versus us in 6th. And then Preston, their way at Wrexham, who had that fantastic 5-3 win over Chris Wilder's Sheffield United, who, funnily enough, were 2-0 up in that game as well. But
3-1 up.
Was it 3-1 up?
3-1
okay,
up.
2-goal advantage and threw it away. Dave, going to Millwall on Monday, we can go there full of confidence, I think, really. They've got a lot of players injured, and just reading a few threads, a few clubs seem to be having our injury problems, but we got to go there. I mean, we've got points in the bag now. We've got points in credit. If we come back from there, though, with a win, that is going to be a tremendous result, and no more than we deserve when we played them at Ashton Gate.
Well, I think that 23 games in, we've gone toe-to-toe with everybody. With one performance at Stoke, which we did pretty much get battered for the whole game. But apart from that, every game we've been well and truly in it. There's nothing to fear. We spoke about this run of games in November, and it was, it's a difficult period. And we've picked up a decent amount of points. Why can't we go to Millwall and win? We spoke in the last podcast, and I said we need 4 points from these as a minimum. The way that we are playing, I don't see any reason why we can't win against Millwall. I imagine it's going to be quite spicy on the pitch. I imagine there'll be a few grudges. In most other countries, they play the same set of fixtures in the first half of the season as they do in the second. So if you play game 19, you play game 38. We don't do this in England, so it leaves this slight quirk that if you have a bit of bad blood, 3 weeks later, you're playing them again. Personally, I love it.
Well,
It's great.
They used to do it one day after the other. If you go back to the 60s, and I can remember tail end of the 60s, we played Birmingham at home on Boxing Day. And I think this was when Trevor Francis was making his start of his career. So that is late 60s. Birmingham on Boxing Day, and then the return fixture at St Andrews like 3 days later. So
Exactly.
if there's any sort of bad blood, as you put it, it's going to be. It's certainly not going to have a chance to fall down.
Neil, I have a question for you. Do you think second place is off the table?
No, I don't think so. I think Borough there at the moment. Certainly, we haven't got like we had last year with 4 teams that are far and away, and you're fighting for 2 playoff. I think there is. I mean, I'm just looking at us in 6th. Yesterday, we would have been in 11th if we lost that game. So it's so tight. Two points off third. 2 points off third. Halfway through the season, I think everything's to play for. I mean, the bookies are probably doing a grand job at the moment of taking money on the playoff places in Championship, because nobody's going to be able to call it, are they? Second half of the season, it's just going to turn into a real bum fight. The one thing I'd say, though, is I don't think, what did we get last year? 68?
68.
I don't think 68 is enough.
73.
Yeah, you had 4 teams last year that were perennially winning and taking.
Well, that's it. That's why 6th went up with 68, because the points distribution was skewed by how good those teams were.
But we're a horrible team to play against. We really are, because we just have chaos ball, don't we? There's no control to our play, realistically. We kick and hoof the ball wherever.
Yeah.
We throw it into the mix. I mean, I can only imagine there's some analysts who actually look at Bristol City and think, what is this football?
What are they going to play?
What is this football? Because there's no rhyme or reason to our football half the time. We just kind of go onto the pitch and make it up as we go along. Yeah. So to play against us isn't easy. I mean, the top teams there, as we were saying, we've beaten Borough, drawn against Ipswich, beaten Hull, and narrowly lost to Coventry. That's the top 4 teams. Yeah. So all of them in those reverse fixtures are going to look at it and think, what is the Bristol City we're going to play against realistically? So
I think we underestimate ourselves as well as fans. I think we look at other fixtures thinking that's a tough fixture, whereas I think people look at us thinking this is not going to be fun today, because there's a lot of chaos that happens. There's a lot of high quality football that goes with it, that's played at speed. Teams are afraid to overcommit because they know they can be done in the transition. And I think maybe we underappreciate just how respected we are in this division now in terms of the football we play, and that's down to Struber.
I think the quality, Lee's made a good point, Lee Churchus, on it. It's so much better to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Than last season, than this structured play.
Let's be fair, it's better to watch even than under Nigel Pearson, because, we're not wishing.
We went nearly a year without a win at home.
Nearly a year, but Pearson didn't really, you didn't know what Nigel's side was about. We didn't have a pattern of play. And the difference is our pattern of play now is that chaos, let's not call it chaos, let's call it unpredictability. Unpredictability. And people are saying, can Bristol City, Michael Brown said, can Bristol City realistically make the top 2? They can, but they've got to put together, to make it real, they've got to put together a winning 5 or 6 matches in a row, because we're still 7 points behind Borough. If we can get within 3 points of second by the end of the window, then it's a possibility. And there's a lot of games between now and then. 4 days' time, that's in fact, we've got 2 more matches, Millwall away, Pompey at home. Then the window opens. It's not a secret anymore that Sam Morsey is signing till the end of the season. And if I read correctly, with a an option of a further year. Dave, Sam Morsey, 42 games in the Ipswich promotion side, 33 in the Prem last season, 34. He walks like an Egyptian. He is an Egyptian. A good player to have in the dressing room. And where does he fit in?
He will be, I'd imagine he'll be a good competitive player that will allow freshness with Knight or Randall. Maybe some games he'll come off the bench for one of those. Maybe some games he'll start. We will judge him as he get ups to match fitness, finds his way in the squad, understands what Struber expects of him. But the best case scenario with him is that he comes in, he plays for Knight or Randall, and you don't feel like it's a massive drop off. He comes on for the last 20 minutes, and you're happy with that.
Yeah.
Because if we overplay those two, you know what happens. And to be honest with you, we cannot be in a situation where we are desperate again for a centre midfielder. And for me, it's a good signing because it doesn't block a pathway, which we might discuss on this pod or another one.
Yeah.
And he's filling in a position where needs must right now. And we do need that extra bit of help.
But he comes in, and you talked earlier, Dave, about now's the time for Stokes. I mean, he's a very different player in a different age group. If he does come in, then that bench, he's on that bench, and who does he come on the bench in place of? Peckover or Thomas, or do you see Peckover or Stokes? One of those two maybe going out on loan for the second half of the season.
If Stokes goes out on loan, I would be disappointed. I would be disappointed because for me, this second half of the season it is now for Stokes. Otherwise, what was the point in this build-up? Where are you going to send Stokes? Okay, you might go back to League One, but I believe he kind of did okay there last season. We need to find out who he is. We need to know, can he do it at this level? And you could see the disappointment on his face when he got injured at Fulham, and he came with this great excitement. I want to see what he can do.
I do.
It's time. And bringing in Morsi won't affect that because there are different players in different positions. There will be other players that drop out.
You could give Stokes some minutes, definitely, if not a starter. But you got the chance against Watford, which is it's a free hit. We want to progress in the cup, but we don't want to end up progressing in the cup and get injuries and stuff like that. I mean, Neil, what are your thoughts on Morsi? It's in the here and now. I think it's a good signing. I don't think it makes any difference that he's 34 because he's not 34 when we're giving him a 3-year contract.
I think at the moment, if you had an injury to one of the centre midfielders last few games, whether Knight or Randall, who would you be bringing off the bench? Meerholz.
Yeah.
So on that basis, having Morsi in there, I've just looked at his display. 47 yellow cards in the last 4 years prior to today. You know what you're going to get with Sam Morsi. You're going to have aggression. You're going to have, a real winning attitude. I mean, 4 seasons he played at Ipswich. I mean, that took some going as they climbed up, and even in the Premiership. So I think there's something about him as a person that's galvanising.
And he's coming in the mould of Joe Williams, because we're really saying Joe Williams ain't gonna.
I don't think so this season.
And has he had a contract in the summer?
No, he's got another year.
He's got another year.
We gave him a 3 year.
We gave him a 3 year. What a waste of money that was then.
Obviously, we gave him a 3 year, the usual standard. I'm not quite sure. I mean, Joe Williams was an interesting one, wasn't it? Because people thought when he's good, he is good, Joe, but his availability has been so poor for a number of years. To give him 3 years, we could have made a break in the summer with him. Last summer, we could have made a break. We made the decision. That's football, isn't it? Sometimes it comes back to bite you. I mean, a fit Joe Williams, yes. A not fit, because he's going to be on quite decent money.
Well, he got a new contract. Decent for
a 3 year contract. But yeah, Morsi, I'd like to see a few of the young players get some game time against Watford as well.
Dave, you're not bothered about Michael Brown's put here, Sam Morsi is a controversial player at Ipswich. He refused to wear the captain's armband that contained the LGBTQ colours due to the fact that he's a Muslim and he wouldn't endorse the rainbow colours. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, look, ultimately, you and I live in a place in Europe or in a country where you do want freedom of choice. And if you are making somebody wear something that they don't agree with, what does that say about you? In an ideal world, yeah, he would wear it and it means nothing. But if he's religious and it goes against what he believes in, he doesn't wear it. It is a personal choice at the end of the day. It shouldn't be forced on anyone. Would I like to see him wear it?
It's a bit like McClain, isn't it? Who won't stand
do the poppy.
Do the poppy thing.
But again, it is a personal choice. It will be unpopular with people, but the whole point of this stuff is it is a personal choice. And as soon as you start forcing that on someone to wear it, you're going against the values that you're trying to create in the first place. Would I prefer to see him wear it? Absolutely. But it is a personal choice.
Yeah, he's the right to do it. As Steve says on here, woke nonsense. I did have Piers Morgan's book, Woke is Dead, bought for me for Christmas.
I could imagine you reading.
Oh, I've read half of it already.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely brilliant book.
I think I watch or listen both to Under the Cosh podcast as well. That's very good with ex-professionals. And Lyle Taylor was on there, and he got a backlash on refusing to take the knee for Black Lives Matters. But that wasn't necessarily about the sentiment. It was about the actual organisation itself, Black Lives Matters, that he didn't endorse. But he got pelters for not taking a knee as a black man himself in relation to. I think when politics comes onto a football field anyway, it gets a little bit
time and a place, and
time and a place. I'm not a great thing for politics on a football
field. Dave, do you think we're going to be? I'm excited by somebody like Morsey coming because it's a name. I mean, other names that are being bandied around. There's a lad called Castledine who's playing for Huddersfield. Is he on loan?
He's from Chelsea. Very, very good player. Very good player. 20 years old, having a sensational time there. It'd be interesting.
Scored yesterday. Do you think we're going to be? Do you think? Because I said, when we did the Borough review, had the accounts come out then or not? They came out.
No, they came out the day after.
And look, I was absolutely right. I said the loss was between 18 and 20 million. And I said they're going to bring it out because 18 million pound loss, right? 18 million pound loss. 7 million Mr. Lansdowne converted from debt into equity. 11 million from the Semenyo sale. The loss has gone, if you're looking at it in purely cash terms, of course. Do you think we're going to be inspired by our transfer activity in the window, Dave, Morsey apart?
No, I really don't. The little bits of information that have came out of the club suggest that you don't expect any transfers. At best, it's going to be a couple of loans, I believe.
The young lad who was Liverpool, it looks like he's going to sign, doesn't it? The winger.
But I would imagine that he's going straight into the under 20, to the under 21s. I don't see him threatening the main side. I would hope another loan comes in again in the forward area because I think we need it.
Yeah.
But I don't imagine anything coming in that's going to be like instantly like, wow, that's the guy. I expect it to be someone coming in that maybe people say, yeah, he's a nice addition, but not necessarily a game changer. Sorry.
I was going to say, talking about players, that ship has sailed. Interestingly, and he scored 2 yesterday, I think, Patrick Bamford. It's somebody like that on loan that I think we need rather than a youngster and hope that it's another Tammy. Would you?
Well, Bamford was just like sitting there, he was just available, and I was surprised that nobody took a punt on him. He even went to Sheffield United, where he's not exactly popular. It just shows you that players will do things, and we do need to get somebody in. And it's not for me to say who it should be, but at the end of the day, they have people there that are looking, and I'm expecting someone to come in. And at the end of the day, we are in a fantastic position. Second place is not off the table. And truly, 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 if not this season, when? Sometimes you've got to be brave.
I'll ask Neil this question, and I might have said it to you before we started recording. Are we wearing white shirts on the Portsmouth game, this celebration of 50 years since we got promoted?
I have no idea.
But the promotional billboard that goes up on the big screen, it's got Twine in a white shirt, symbolic of that season.
Right.
Melanie, my partner, she said to me this morning, why are you celebrating 50 years since you got promoted? That's celebration of failure, really, isn't it? That we've not got back that far.
But we celebrate the Tinian goal every year.
We celebrate the Tinian goal. We celebrate beating Man United.
We celebrate individual things.
That is a pretty poor indictment, isn't it?
I mean, when we stand in a concourse at Ashton Gate, like the other day when we were there together, and I just said, there's no promotion teams. And for me, great times with City are promotion seasons. Individual games come and go, but we've got this Tinian montage. We've got this Corey Smith montage. Great individual nights, but it's about promotion teams. Those are the great promotion teams. And then
I think you're being a little bit harsh as well, David, there. many people grew up on those stories. I didn't get to witness it. I only heard the bits and pieces from my dad, and we know about getting there and the goal and everything else that happens. And I think sometimes celebrating those moments connects generations, because
True.
you get to hear the story. And I would rather hear that celebrated than 8 years since we beat Man United, because it's a fresh memory. It's not the nostalgia moment. And that team getting promoted is the last. It's like 1966 winning the World Cup. You know,
Yeah.
they are the last guys to do it, and they are the standard until somebody matches it.
Yeah. And as you said, it was just picking up on your point,
Yeah.
Dave. If not now, then when?
Yeah, and I'm worried for the future. I'm hoping they're going to be brave and do some things to say, you know what, we're going to go for this. And I don't know what that means. I see the accounts. I understand there's a necessity for youth players to be built, so we have some sellable assets or assets for ourselves. But I don't want them to sit on their fingers and be like, oh, there's nothing more we could do. I think it's clear to everybody they need an additional striking option. If they bring that in and it doesn't work, fair enough. But that's the requirement right now, because in everywhere else,
let's bring in somebody like Jacob Brown from Luton Town. That right, didn't
Well,
it? Was Jacob Brown, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I think there's some potential for some trading going on. I mean, if you've got a 7-figure bid for Mehmeti, even $1 million for Mehmeti, would you take that?
Wow.
If you can't agree a deal with Viner, would you take that? Would you look to reinvest it in the squad in relation to it? I don't know. I mean, Jason Knight, if Jason
what would
Knight,
happen? What would happen if somebody came in with an £8 million offer for Jason Knight?
I mean,
if you're really being like ruthless, this window, the most sellable one, if he would go, would be Viner. Because to replace Mehmeti and the goals and the assists and the danger would be significantly more expensive and difficult than Viner. As much as Viner is important to the defence, you've got to be looking long term. I don't want that to happen, but between the two, if you ask me which one, I would say it would be Viner, would be the easier one to sell in this window.
I mean, as Lee Church has said on here, the most important thing is keeping Struber happy. Players can come and go, but I want Struber here long term. So Struber has shown he's the best acquisition the club have made in a very long time.
Now, David, sorry, no.
Go on, Dave.
Go on, Dave.
I was just going to say, this is off topic of City completely. I just wanted to get it in before we finished. There is a book called Provided You Don't Kiss Me. If you haven't read it, I encourage everyone to read it, and it's to do with the story of Nottingham Forest. And this week, John Robertson passed away, and I only know from reading about him that he's a phenomenal footballer. I just wondered if you, David, could tell us about him, having seen us live. Like, what kind of player was he?
Yeah, I mean, John Robertson, you're going back to the late 70s. He was in the Forest team that Brian Clough fashioned and got up into what is now the Premier League, won the title, won 2 European Cups. He was as unathletic-like as you could wish to have. A short little guy who probably carried a few, you'd be saying he's been on the pies a little bit like Archie Gemmill. I think they're in the same Scotland side, but a very, very clever winger, a bit like George Armstrong, which is going back even earlier, who used to play for Arsenal. Little short guys, you know, unfashionable hairstyle, like to drink, like to smoke and everything like that. But, you know, a key part of Brian Clough's Nottingham Forest that did win the league and won those 2 European Cups in successive seasons. So, yeah, I saw that he'd passed, and you know, sadly missed. You know, never saw himself as a manager, but great character by all accounts.
He was assistant to Martin O'Neill a number of times.
Was he?
As a manager? Yeah. Assistant manager. He's part of the coaching team. I mean,
he'd be the good cop and the bad cop.
Yeah.
Because like Joe Jordan had Jimmy Lumsden. If anybody ever knew Jimmy alongside Joe, you know, Jimmy was the cheeky chappy, whereas Joe was the disciplinarian guy.
The thing about Robertson was people underestimated him. He was pretty much I think he went off and played for Derby afterwards. So he stayed in the East Midlands, but he smoked a fag.
Yeah.
His diet was all over the place. He was quintessentially 1970s footballer.
Yeah.
But that ball, when you go and you watch the reruns of him, the things that he could do with the ball and shift the ball, reminds me a little bit of Alan Walsh in a way, you know. Not in
Walsh is good, but he's not that good.
Not in an athletic way.
Yeah.
But we used to see Walshy when he would dribble with the ball and he'd keep it so close to him.
Yeah.
And Robertson, when he dribbles with the ball with both his left and his right.
Yeah.
he could keep the ball very, very close to him with it. And nowadays, there's a lot of pushing the ball forward when they're dribbling. The dribbles have kind of gone out of the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas the 70s and the 80s, with a lot of clubs were still playing with wingers, and Robertson was right up there in the 70s and in the 80s.
Yeah.
Sure.
There we go. Anyway, I think we're done for today. Neil, your belated arrival.
Can I just say,
Please
with
speak.
regards to the Semenyo money, I think the Semenyo money, when it comes in, I think a certain amount of it will be held over for the summer, because there's got to be a pragmatism on the fact that
If we don't go up, what
the
needs to be done?
number of the players leaving at the end of their contracts, there's no money as it stands to sort of replace them in all the Sykes, Roberts, Max, potentially Vinham, Mehmeti, Sam Bell. You know, you've got numerous players in the squad that are potentially leaving on freeze. Then you've got renegotiations with McCrorie, with Knight, key negotiations to actually have. I think any money from Semenyo goes towards the summer.
Well, let's not end on a too depressing note. We're going into, but it's depressing but true. Probably we're going into the Millwall game on the back of 2 wins. Hopefully, we can make it 3. We'll be doing our review of Millwall away on the morning of Tuesday, December the 30th. Dave's going to be hosting that. We got the big guns out because Dave Fevs is coming on for an appearance. Good to have Dave back on. Ant Banks is going to be on, and also Tom of the Robin's Nest. And then we'll be reviewing the Pompey home game on January the 2nd. Yeah, you're around for that one.
Yeah,
yeah, he's around for that one. But there we go. Any final words from you, Dave? Going into it, we're happy, aren't we? We're feeling.
I'm very, very positive of where things are going, and it's, for me personally, it's nice to have 3 games to go to over Christmas and feel Bristol City live football again. And I really had that yesterday, and it gave me that buzz, and it's like, the buzz is back. You know, it's that feeling that you just can't get in anything else.
He's been good for City, Struber.
Yeah.
Half-season review, I think his positivity, because he's so different to Manning, his positivity, his sort of honesty, and the way he comes across and everything. He's
well, the way he comes across.
He's been a really.
I meant to play. I meant to play this. And Gerhard sent us a little message after the. Hang on, I'm just finding it on my phone here. After the Borough game, right? And I'll just play this out now. Here we go.
Well, it was perfect performance today. Really super all round. Our roster was magnificent. We fighting like a big family, and we had a clean sheet. And of course, we took our chances today, which was really good. And the crowd was just magnificent, and everything was perfect.
There we go. I didn't get a chance to play that because Gerhard sent that to us after the Middlesbrough game, but after we recorded it. Whoever's doing that,
he's just brilliant.
Whoever's doing that is a very good impersonation. That is a very good impersonation. But there we go. Dave, have a good day after Boxing Day, and Neil, he's cooking turkey leftovers. I'm seeing my one of my daughters and my grandkids today, so looking forward to that. But everybody is tuned in today. Thanks for your support all through the calendar year, all through this season, and we'll be back with a review of Millwall away on Tuesday morning.